The stars twinkled coldly in the night sky as Sarah Connor stared out the window of her small apartment. Her eyes were red and puffy from crying, her hand clutching a crumpled piece of paper. It was the official notice from Earth's government, announcing the Galactic Council's decision. Just yesterday, life had been normal. Humans were a small but growing part of the galactic community. They had made friends, traded goods, and learned so much. But in one cruel moment, everything changed. The Galactic Council, a group of the oldest and most powerful alien races, had decided that humans were too dangerous. They said humans bred too fast and were too violent. The Council's solution was simple and brutal. Cull the human population by eliminating all children under the age of 18. Sarah's daughter, Emily, had only been 10 years old. As the sun rose on this terrible new day, the streets were eerily quiet. No children laughing on their way to school. No teenagers hanging out in the park. Just silence and grief. John Martinez, a local news reporter, walked through the empty streets. His camera drone buzzed beside him, recording the scene. "This is John Martinez, reporting live from New York City," he said, his voice shaking. "The streets are empty as families mourn their losses. The Galactic Council's decree has—" He stopped, choking back tears. His own son was gone too. In Washington, D.C., President Amanda Chen sat in the Oval Office. Her face was grim as she looked at the reports coming in from around the world. Billions dead. The human race cut nearly in half overnight. "Madam President," her aide said softly, "the UN Security Council is waiting." President Chen nodded and stood up. She straightened her jacket and wiped away a tear. It was time to be strong for what was left of humanity. In the UN building, representatives from every nation sat in stunned silence. Some cried openly. Others stared blankly ahead, still in shock. President Chen walked to the podium. She looked out at the faces of Earth's leaders, seeing her own pain reflected back at her. "My fellow humans," she began, her voice firm despite her sorrow. "Yesterday we suffered a loss beyond imagination. The Galactic Council, which we trusted, has betrayed us in the worst way possible. They have taken our children, our future." She paused, letting her words sink in. "But we are still here. We have survived wars, plagues, and disasters. We will survive this too, and we will not forget." In orbit above Earth, the alien ships of the Galactic Peacekeeping Force watched. They had carried out the Council's orders efficiently. Now they waited, making sure the humans didn't try anything foolish. On board the flagship, Admiral Zexebel of the Vorax species observed the planet below. His tentacles twitched nervously. "Status report," he commanded. "All targets eliminated." "Admiral," his second-in-command replied. "Human population reduced by 49.3%. Admiral Zexebel nodded. "And their response?" "Minimal, sir. Some attempts at resistance, quickly suppressed. Mostly, they seem to be in mourning." The Admiral's compound eyes narrowed. "Keep watching them closely. Humans are known for their unpredictability." Back on Earth, in a secret underground bunker, a group of scientists, military leaders, and government officials gathered. They had been prepared for many disasters, but not this. General Maria Kovacs, her uniform crisp despite the circumstances, addressed the room. "We all know why we're here," she said. "The Galactic Council has declared war on humanity. They thought killing our children would break us." Her eyes flashed with anger. "Instead, they have united us like never before." Dr. Alan Yamamoto, the leading xenobiologist, spoke up. "But how can we fight back? Their technology is far beyond ours." General Kovacs smiled grimly. "With our greatest strength, human ingenuity, we'll find a way. We have to." As night fell again, the world tried to sleep. In homes and shelters, the survivors held each other close. They mourned their lost children, but in their hearts, a fire was beginning to burn. The Galactic Council had made a terrible mistake. They thought they were culling a troublesome species. Instead, they had created an enemy that would stop at nothing for revenge. Humanity had been pushed to the brink. Now, it would push back. The world had changed in just a few short weeks. Cities once bustling with life now stood eerily quiet. But beneath the surface, something was stirring. In an abandoned subway tunnel deep under New York, Sarah Connor worked tirelessly. Her fingers flew over a keyboard, lines of code scrolling across the screen. She hadn't slept in days, fueled by grief and determination. "How's it coming?" a gruff voice asked. John Martinez, the former news reporter, now stood beside her, his camera drone repurposed for surveillance. Sarah rubbed her tired eyes. "Almost there. If this works, we'll have a secure communication network across the entire planet." John nodded. "Good. We'll need it." All around them, the tunnel hummed with activity. What had once been a forgotten part of the city was now the heart of the resistance. People from all walks of life worked together, united by their loss and their desire for revenge. Meanwhile, in a hidden facility in the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Alan Yamamoto peered into a microscope. His team of scientists worked around the clock, studying alien technology salvaged from crashed ships. "Dr. Yamamoto," a young researcher called out, "I think we've cracked the energy source." Alan rushed over, his heart pounding. If they could understand and replicate the aliens' power systems, it would be a huge step forward. Across the ocean, in the depths of the African jungle, General Maria Kovacs oversaw the training of a new kind of army. Men and women who had lost everything now learned to fight with a ferocity that would make even the aliens think twice. "Again," she barked, watching as the recruits ran the obstacle course. "The Galactic Council thinks we're broken. We'll show them just how wrong they are." In orbit, Admiral Zexubel of the Galactic Peacekeeping Force was growing nervous. His tentacles twitched as he reviewed the latest reports. "Sir," his second-in-command said, "we've lost contact with 3 of our ground patrols in the last week." Zextel's compound eyes narrowed. "Impossible. The humans don't have the technology to." An alarm blared, cutting him off. On the view screen, a small human ship appeared, darting between asteroids. "How did they get out there?" Zextel demanded. "Intercept them immediately." But as his ships moved to attack, the human vessel simply vanished. Back on Earth, in the White House Situation Room, President Amanda Chen received the news with a grim smile. "It worked," she said to her advisors. "Our first successful test of the cloaking device." One of the generals leaned forward. "Madam President, with all due respect, hit-and-run tactics won't be enough. We need a real plan to strike back." Chen nodded. "And we will. But first, we need to gather our strength. Every day, more people join the resistance. Every day, we learn more about our enemy." In homes and hidden bases around the world, humans gathered around makeshift communication devices. Sarah Connor's network was up and running, allowing the resistance to coordinate on a global scale. A message crackled through the airwaves. "This is the voice of humanity. We have not forgotten. We have not forgiven. To the Galactic Council, know this. Your act of cruelty has not broken us. It has only made us stronger." As the message played, people listened with tears in their eyes and fire in their hearts. In factories hidden underground, new weapons were being forged. In labs across the planet, scientists made breakthrough after breakthrough. The aliens above might have thought they'd won an easy victory. They were about to learn how wrong they were. In the subway tunnel, Sarah finally allowed herself a moment's rest. She looked around at the bustling activity, feeling a glimmer of hope for the first time since that terrible day. John put a hand on her shoulder. "Get some sleep," he said gently. "Tomorrow, we start planning our first major strike." Sarah nodded, her eyes gleaming with determination. The resistance was no longer just surviving. They were preparing to fight back. As night fell, the stars twinkled above, unaware of the storm brewing on the little blue planet below. Humanity was rising, and the galaxy would never be the same. The sun was setting over the ruins of Cape Canaveral, when Dr. Alan Yamamoto's team made their breakthrough. In a hidden bunker beneath the old launch pads, a group of scientists huddled around a glowing device. "It's working," Dr. Yamamoto exclaimed, his eyes wide with excitement. "We've cracked the alien energy source." The device hummed softly, giving off more power than a nuclear reactor in a package the size of a coffee can. It was a copy of the Galactic Council's most closely guarded secret, their near-limitless power source. Sarah Connor's voice crackled over the secure comm line. "Are you sure it's stable, Alan?" "Positive," he replied. "This is it, Sarah. This is how we fight back." Thousands of miles away, in the Resistance's main base under New York, Sarah shared a look with John Martinez. "Then it's time," she said. "Alert the president. We're ready to move to the next phase." As night fell, a secret meeting was called. In a room deep underground, President Amanda Chen faced the leaders of the resistance. General Kovacs, Dr. Yamamoto, Sarah Connor, and John Martinez sat around a table, their faces lit by the soft glow of screens. "Ladies and gentlemen," President Chen began, "thanks to Dr. Yamamoto's team, we now have the key to the Galactic Council's power. But energy alone isn't enough. We need a weapon." General Kovacs leaned forward. "My teams have been studying the aliens' shield technology. If we can combine that with our new power source, we could create a weapon that can pierce their defenses," Sarah finished. John looked skeptical. "Even if we build it, how do we get close enough to use it? Their ships control the skies." A smile played on Dr. Yamamoto's lips. "That's where my other project comes in. We've reverse-engineered their faster-than-light drive." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. With that technology, humanity could take the fight to the stars. President Chen stood up. "Then it's settled. We'll pour everything we have into this project." Codename Excalibur. As the meeting ended, Sarah pulled John aside. "We need to talk to our spy in the Galactic Peacekeeping Force. If they get wind of this..." John nodded grimly. "I'll make contact tonight." In orbit, aboard the alien flagship, a human janitor quietly mopped the floors. To the aliens, he was just another servant beneath their notice. But David Chen, the president's younger brother, saw and heard everything. As he worked, he overheard two alien officers talking in their strange, clicking language. David's heart raced as he made out the words "human" and "energy spike." That night, as the ship passed over the dark side of the moon, David snuck into a communication room. With shaking hands, he sent a coded message to Earth. Back in the New York base, John Martinez decoded the message. His face paled. "Sarah," he called out, "we've got a problem. The aliens have detected the energy from our tests. They're sending a team to investigate." Sarah's mind raced. "How long do we have?" 2 days, maybe 3. She grabbed the comm. "Dr. Yamamoto, you need to move. Now, take everything and head for the backup site in the Rockies." At Cape Canaveral, Alan's team scrambled to pack up their equipment. As they loaded the last of it onto a hidden transport, the sky lit up. Alien ships descended, their searchlights sweeping the area. "Go!" Alan shouted, jumping into the transport. As they sped away, he watched in the rearview mirror as energy beams lanced down, vaporizing the empty bunker. In New York, Sarah and John worked furiously, coordinating the worldwide resistance network. "We need more time," Sarah muttered. John put a hand on her shoulder. "We'll make it work. We always do." As dawn broke, President Chen addressed the nation through the Resistance's secret broadcast network. "My fellow humans," she said, her voice strong and clear. "Today, we stand on the brink of a new era. We have discovered the key to our survival, to our victory. But the road ahead will be hard. The enemy is onto us. We must be brave, we must be clever, and above all, we must stand united." Across the world, humans listened, hope kindling in their hearts. In hidden bases and secret labs, work on Project Excalibur continued around the clock. The race was on. In space, Admiral Zegzubel stared at the reports from Earth, his alien features twisted in confusion. What are these humans up to? He wondered aloud. He had a feeling he wouldn't like the answer. The massive alien spaceport on Mars hummed with activity. Sleek ships from across the galaxy docked and departed, their crews a colorful mix of species. Among them, a small human transport ship waited for clearance to land. Inside, Sarah Connor adjusted her holographic disguise. The alien tech made her appear as a tall, blue-skinned Andromedan. Beside her, John Martinez checked their forged credentials one last time. "Remember," Sarah whispered, "we're just simple traders. Nothing suspicious." John nodded, his own disguise making him look like a furry centaurian. "Let's hope David's intel is good." As they disembarked, they were met by a bored-looking alien official. Its tentacles waved lazily as it scanned their documents. Sarah held her breath, praying the forgeries would hold up. After what felt like an eternity, the alien grunted and waved them through. Once inside the spaceport, Sarah and John split up. Their mission: gather crucial intelligence on the Galactic Council's defenses and find weaknesses in their vast network. John headed for the public data terminals, his Centaurian disguise allowing him to access information restricted to Council species. He downloaded star charts, patrol routes, and communication frequencies. Meanwhile, Sarah made her way to the VIP lounge. Her target: a high-ranking Vorax official known for his loose lips after a few drinks. Back on Earth, in the Resistance's new Rocky Mountain headquarters, Dr. Alan Yamamoto coordinated the operation. He spoke into a secure comm line. "Eagle 1 and Eagle 2, status report." "Eagle 1 here," John's voice crackled. "Data retrieval at 60% and counting." "Eagle 2, Sarah whispered, making contact with the target now. In the VIP lounge, Sarah approached the Vorax official. His 4 eyes blinked lazily as she offered him a drink. "A toast," she said in flawless Andromedan, "to the mighty Galactic Council." Hours passed as Sarah expertly plied the official with drinks and flattery. Slowly, valuable secrets began to slip out. "You know," the Vorax slurred, "those humans aren't as helpless as we thought. Just last week, one of our patrols went missing near their moon." Sarah feigned surprise. Surely the humans couldn't be responsible. The Vorax leaned in close. "That's not all. There are rumors of energy spikes on their planet. Some say they've discovered Zithon crystals." Sarah's heart raced. Zithon crystals were the key component in the Council's advanced weapons. If the Vorax believed humans had them. Across the spaceport, John was about to hit the jackpot. Buried deep in the data, he found files on a secret council meeting. As he began the download, an alarm blared. "Security breach detected," a robotic voice announced. "All exits sealed." John's blood ran cold. He quickly finished the download and erased his tracks. As he tried to leave, he saw alien security forces spreading out, checking everyone. "Eagle 1 to base," he whispered urgently. "Cover blown. Need extraction." In the command center, Alan's team sprang into action. "Eagle 2, Alan called. Abort mission. Rendezvous at extraction point Alpha." Sarah made her excuses to the drunk Vorax and slipped out of the lounge. As she navigated the suddenly chaotic spaceport, she saw John trapped by a security checkpoint. Thinking fast, she stumbled towards the guards, playing the part of a drunk Andromedan. As she collided with them, creating a distraction, John slipped past. Moments later, they reached their ship. As alien security forces closed in, the engines roared to life. The small craft shot out of the docking bay, narrowly avoiding the closing blast doors. "Hold on," John yelled as he piloted the ship into a dizzying series of evasive maneuvers. Alien patrol ships gave chase, energy beams lighting up the Martian sky. Just when it seemed they were cornered, their ship vanished. The experimental cloaking device, hidden in the cargo hold, had worked perfectly. Hours later, safe in Earth orbit, Sarah and John breathed sighs of relief. They had done it. They had infiltrated the heart of the Galactic Council's operations and escaped with invaluable intelligence. As they prepared to land, Alan's voice came over the comm. "Great work, you two, but we've got a new problem. The Council is calling an emergency session. They're planning something big." Sarah and John shared a worried look. They had won this battle, but the war was far from over. As Earth grew larger in their view screen, they knew that humanity's greatest challenge still lay ahead. The underground war room buzzed with tension. President Amanda Chen stood before a holographic display of the solar system, her face grim. Around her, the leaders of Earth's resistance waited in anticipation. "The intelligence from Mars is clear," she said. "The Galactic Council is planning a final strike against Earth. We must act now." General Maria Kovacs stepped forward. "Madam President, Project Excalibur is ready. We can launch our counterattack within 24 hours. Dr. Alan Yamamoto nodded in agreement. "The weapon is stable. Our ships are equipped with both the new energy source and the cloaking technology." Sarah Connor and John Martinez exchanged glances. They had risked everything to get this information. Now, it was time to use it. President Chen took a deep breath. "Very well. Initiate Operation Thunderbolt." Across the globe, hidden bases sprang into action. In secret hangars, sleek ships powered up, their hulls gleaming with a technology that blended human ingenuity with reverse-engineered alien tech. At the main launch site in the Rockies, Sarah and John boarded the flagship, christened Hope's Vengeance. As the ship rose silently into the night sky, Sarah couldn't help but think of her daughter. "This is for you, Emily," she whispered. In orbit, Admiral Dixel of the Galactic Peacekeeping Force was preparing for the Council's final assault on Earth. Suddenly, alarms blared across his ship. "Sir," his second-in-command shouted, multiple energy signatures appearing out of nowhere. Zextel's compound eyes widened in shock as human ships materialized around his fleet. It was impossible. The humans didn't have this technology. Before he could react, the sky lit up with energy beams. The human ships, powered by the stolen Zithon crystal technology, tore through the alien fleet's defenses like paper. "Return fire," Ivsel ordered, but it was too late. His ships, caught off guard, were sitting ducks. On board Hope's Vengeance, John manned the weapons console. "Target locked," he called out. Firing main cannon, a massive beam of energy shot out from the ship, striking the alien flagship. The vessel's shields flickered and died. Sarah's voice rang out over the comms to the rest of the human fleet. "All ships, focus fire on the command ship." In a blinding flash, Admiral Zexel's ship exploded. The remaining alien vessels, now leaderless, fell into disarray. As the battle raged in Earth orbit, a small team led by General Kovacs slipped past the chaos. Their target, the Galactic Council's nearby outpost on the Moon. Using the cloaking technology, they landed undetected. The alien guards, distracted by the space battle, never saw them coming. Inside the outpost, General Kovacs planted the charges. "Let's show them what happens when they mess with Earth," she growled. As the team escaped, the outpost erupted in a series of explosions. The Galactic Council had just lost its foothold in the Sol system. Back in space, the human fleet pressed its advantage. Ship after ship of the once mighty alien armada fell to Earth's new weapons. In the war room, President Chen watched the holographic display with a mix of awe and sadness. They were winning, but at what cost? As the last alien ship in Earth orbit surrendered or fled, a cheer went up from the resistance fighters. For the first time in months, humanity had hope. Sarah and John brought Hope's Vengeance in for a landing at the Rocky Mountain base. As they stepped out, they were met with applause and tears of joy. Dr. Yamamoto rushed up to them, his face beaming. "We did it. We actually did it." But Sarah's expression remained serious. "This was just the first strike, Alan. The Galactic Council will retaliate. We need to be ready." President Chen's voice came over the base's speakers. My fellow humans, today we have struck a blow for Earth, for our children, for our future. But our fight is not over. The Galactic Council will soon learn of their fleet's defeat. We must prepare for their response. As the celebration around them continued, Sarah, John, and the other leaders of the resistance gathered to plan their next move. They had won the battle, but the war for humanity's survival was just beginning. In the depths of space, a lone alien ship limped away from Earth, carrying news of the shocking defeat. The Galactic Council was about to learn that they had awakened a sleeping giant. Humanity was no longer prey. They were now the hunters. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council on Centauri Prime was in uproar. Representatives from 100 alien races shouted and argued, their various appendages waving in agitation. High Counselor Sktar, a tall, crystalline being, called for order. Silence. His voice boomed. We must address this human threat immediately. A hologram flickered to life in the center of the chamber, showing the devastating defeat of their fleet at Earth. Many counselors gasped, seeing the destruction for the first time. How is this possible? Demanded Counselor Vex of the Arcturian Confederation. They were primitives just cycles ago. On the fringes of the chamber, diplomat Lyra of the Pleiadian Alliance watched silently. Her people had always advocated for peace with younger races. Now she saw an opportunity. Back on Earth, Sarah Connor and John Martinez stood before a bank of screens in the Resistance headquarters. Each display showed a different alien world, all in various states of unrest. It's working, John said, a hint of awe in his voice. News of our victory is spreading faster than the Council can contain it. Sarah nodded grimly. And with it, the truth about what they did to our children. Across the galaxy, on planets large and small, the story of Earth's retaliation spread like wildfire. Species that had long chafed under the Council's rule began to question their overlords. On the desert world of Keros, reptilian beings gathered in secret caves, whispering of rebellion. In the methane seas of Titan, aquatic intelligences pulsed with newfound courage, inspired by the humans' defiance. Even on developed worlds, unrest grew. On the sprawling ecumenopolis of Trantor, riots broke out as its inhabitants demanded answers from their council representatives. Back in the council chamber, the debate raged on. We must crush these humans immediately, roared Councillor Drath of the Orion Cartel. Send in the Omega fleet. No, Lyra of the Pleiadians finally spoke up. More violence will only breed more resistance. We must sue for peace. As the counselors argued, a junior aide rushed in, his tentacles quivering with excitement. Counselors, we're receiving a transmission from Earth. The chamber fell silent as the hologram changed. Now, it showed President Amanda Chen, her face resolute. Greetings, Galactic Council, she began. I speak to you not just as the leader of Earth, but as a voice for all species you have oppressed. Your reign of terror ends now. In Resistance headquarters, Sarah and John watched the broadcast with bated breath. This was the moment they had been working towards. President Chen continued, her voice growing stronger. We extend an offer to all races under Council rule. Join us. Together, we can build a new galactic order based on equality and justice. The Council chamber erupted into chaos. Some counselors shouted for Earth's immediate destruction. Others, seeing the writing on the wall, began to consider the humans' offer. Across the galaxy, the response was immediate. On world after world, populations rose up against their council overlords. Ships of the Galactic Peacekeeping Force found themselves surrounded by the very people they were meant to control. In a secure bunker on Mars, General Maria Kovacs coordinated with alien rebel leaders. Remember, she said, her voice transmitted to a dozen worlds, hit their communication relays first. Cut them off from the Council. On the Pleiadian homeworld, diplomat Lyra met in secret with her world's leaders. The humans have given us a chance to right the wrongs of the past, she urged. We must take it. As the galactic order crumbled, Not all went smoothly for the human-led alliance. On some worlds, power vacuums led to chaos. Other species, harboring their own imperial ambitions, saw an opportunity to seize power. In Earth's war room, Dr. Alan Yamamoto pointed to a holographic map. "We've got reports of Denibian warships massing here and here. They're trying to carve out their own empire in the chaos." President Chen's face was grim. "Then we'll deal with them too. We didn't come this far to replace one tyrant with another." As the days passed, the galaxy descended further into chaos. The once mighty Galactic Council found itself besieged on all sides, its power crumbling. In the council chamber, now nearly empty, High Counselor Skar slumped in his seat. "What have we done?" he whispered, watching reports of yet another world falling to the rebels. On Earth, as Sarah Connor looked up at the night sky, she allowed herself a small smile. The stars no longer seemed cold and distant. Now they beckoned with the promise of a new future, one where humanity would take its place among the galactic community. But she knew the hardest part was yet to come. Winning the war was one thing. Building a lasting peace would be the true challenge. The Great Hall of the new Galactic Alliance on Earth buzzed with anticipation. Representatives from 100 alien races, once oppressed by the Galactic Council, now gathered as equals. At the center of it all stood President Amanda Chen, flanked by Sarah Connor and John Martinez. Today, President Chen began, her voice echoing through the hall. "We write a new chapter in galactic history. No longer will any race suffer under the tyranny of the few." As she spoke, screens around the hall showed images from across the galaxy. On world after world, people of all species celebrated their newfound freedom. But not all was peaceful. On the edges of known space, the remnants of the old Galactic Council rallied their forces for one last desperate stand. In orbit above Earth, General Maria Kovacs stood on the bridge of the flagship Unity, a marvel of human and alien engineering. "Status report," she barked. "Council forces detected in the Orion sector." A young lieutenant replied. "They're making a push for the wormhole nexus." Kovacs' eyes narrowed. If the Council seized control of the wormholes, they could strangle the new Alliance's supply lines. "Alert all ships," she ordered. "We move out in 10 minutes." Back on Earth, in the war room beneath the Alliance headquarters, Dr. Alan Yamamoto pored over intelligence reports. "It's confirmed," he said to Sarah and John. "The Council's making their last stand at the Pillars of Creation." Sarah's face hardened. "Then that's where we end this, once and for all." As the Alliance fleet prepared for the final battle, diplomats worked tirelessly to solidify their new coalition. Lyra of the Pleiadians addressed a group of hesitant races. "For too long, we stood by while the Council committed atrocities," she said. "Now is our chance to make amends." Across the galaxy, ships of all shapes and sizes converged on the Pillars of Creation, a massive stellar nursery that had long been a symbol of the Council's power. Now it would be the site of their last stand. As the Alliance fleet dropped out of warp, they were met with an awesome sight. The remaining Council ships had fortified the nebula, turning the beautiful cosmic structure into a deadly stronghold. "All ships, battle formations." General Kovacs' voice rang out across the comms. "Remember why we fight. For our children, for our future, for a free galaxy." The space around the pillars erupted into chaos as thousands of ships clashed in a spectacular firefight. Energy beams crisscrossed the void, and explosions lit up the nebula like newborn stars. On the Bridge of Unity, Kovacs watched the battle unfold. "We need to take out their command ship," she said, pointing to a massive vessel at the heart of the Council's formation. Sarah Connor's voice crackled over the comm. "Leave that to us." Her ship, Hope's Vengeance, decloaked right in the midst of the enemy fleet, catching them off guard. John Martinez, at the weapons console, unleashed a barrage that ripped through the command ship's shields. "Now, Sarah," he shouted. Sarah piloted their ship on a daring run, weaving through enemy fire. At the last moment, they launched a payload of Zithon crystal bombs, a technology born from human ingenuity and alien science. The resulting explosion was blinding. When the light faded, the Council's command ship was nothing but debris. Seeing their leaders fall, the remaining Council forces began to surrender or flee. Cheers erupted across the Alliance fleet as the realization dawned. They had won. In the aftermath, as the dust of battle settled, the real work began. Representatives from all races gathered to draft a new galactic constitution, one that would ensure the mistakes of the past were never repeated. President Chen, addressing the newly formed Galactic Senate, spoke of the challenges ahead. "We have won our freedom," she said, "but now we must prove worthy of it. Let us build a galaxy where no child, of any species, ever has to fear again." As the Senate chamber erupted in applause, Sarah Connor stood at the back, tears in her eyes. She thought of Emily and all the children lost. Their sacrifice had not been in vain. John put a hand on her shoulder. "We did it, Sarah. We changed the galaxy." Sarah nodded, a mix of sorrow and hope in her heart. "Now comes the hard part," she said, "building a future worth fighting for." As night fell on Earth, people of all species looked up at the stars. Once a source of fear and loss, they now shone with the promise of a new era. Humanity had not only survived, but had led the galaxy into a new age of peace and cooperation. The story of Earth's revenge had become a story of galactic redemption, and in the vast cosmic tapestry, a new chapter was just beginning.